Long Forest is all about making hedgerows important again. We want them to be seen as an asset to our Welsh landscape. We want people to understand the importance of them and how to manage them effectively. Hedgerows are at risk from neglect. They're also at risk of being poorly managed, and also they're still getting ripped out where they are a major source for connectivity, for wildlife and for shelter.
My name's Tom Ward-Jackson. I'm the project officer for Keep Wales Tidy in Monmouthshire, working on the Long Forest project, all about encouraging people to value hedges for their usefulness to wildlife and as features of the heritage features of the landscape. And a big part of that then is about encouraging people to manage hedgerows sensitively, and an important part of that is traditional hedgerow management such as hedge laying. So we're here today with the annual Llantoni Show hedging match.
The judge will pick the winner on style, the correctness of angle of the timber, consistency, straight line across the top when the pleachers are on the top, and he'll want a stock-proof hedge, so he won't want any gaps in between.
Think you've won it this year?
No.
My name's Tom. I work for Keep Wales Tidy, and it's traditional land-based skills using great hand tools like the bill hook, the axe, and it's great to see the hedge line being managed traditionally as it has been for generation upon generation. A hedge will be planted, and then you leave it 15-20 years to grow, and hopefully it's into a state like these stools here, which we can then pleach, lay as a hedge, and then this shouldn't need to be done again for another 15 or 20 years then. It's not so much a dying art. It's definitely got a resurgence at the moment in popularity, but it's something that we certainly need to keep the regional styles and the regional techniques alive. Otherwise it just becomes one kind of uniform hedge, and that's not how Britain looks. The regional style we're doing at the moment is Welsh border or Brecconshire style, so it's a double brush hedge with stakes canted at an opposite angle to the pleachers, which are the stems that we're laying, and it has a lot more dead hedging or filler material in to bulk it up, unlike a lot of the English varieties. But this is here for Welsh sheep, because they'll escape anything, and you make it as dense, thick and thorny as you can.
Thanks to Heritage Lottery Fund, we wanted to plant over 100,000 trees and improve about 125,000 metres of hedgerow. And we're pleased to say, with the help of the Woodland Trust, that was all done with over 7,000 volunteers across the whole of Wales.
Llynview Care Farm is a farm where adults with learning disabilities can come and do different activities such as tree planting, crafts, all sorts of different things. I got in touch with Llynview Care Farm at the very beginning of Long Forest to see if they were interested in getting involved in doing some tree planting and learning about hedges. And they were really keen to get involved and improve the hedges on their land, and also to plant some foraging hedges so that they could use the produce in jams and cordials and all sorts of different things, just as another aspect of their work here.
Elder. Look like an elder. An elder tree.
Got a fairly standard sort of mix here of hawthorn, hazel, but then we're adding some crabapple and wild cherry as well, and interspersed with that we've got some sessile oak and beech trees to grow as standards, so to grow into nice tall trees as well. So we planted this particular section of hedge, we began last year, so we're just checking on, see how they're getting on, and we'll replace any that haven't survived. Some of the other hedges we planted 2 years ago, and again we'll keep an eye on those and make sure they're weed free to give them the best chance of survival. Being outdoors is really good for mental well-being, and hopefully they're enjoying themselves as well.
Oh, it's good. I really enjoyed it.
Hedgerows have always been a source of food, fuel and medicine for us, and we've sort of lost touch with that a little bit. So here we really wanted to plant something that people could use, could harvest to make certain foods, fuels and medicines.
I think that might be the wild cherry.
We've been working with Long Forest to link up the hedgerows that we already have to make little corridors, because sadly lots of hedgerows have been lost over time and it just means that the wildlife is struggling. So we're doing it for the wildlife and biodiversity, but also it's good for us as well because there are things in the hedgerow that we can make use of as well. Works for everyone really. You remember planting these 2 years ago?
2 years ago I planted with,
yeah. There's a whole gang of us.
The gang
yeah.
Yeah.
And you plant them next to your orchard, is that right?
Orchard.
Making juice.
Make juice.
Yeah, lots of
apple juice in.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this year then, with these trees have grown, we can actually harvest some of the fruits from these trees as well.
Good idea.
Yeah. Thanks to the Heritage Lottery Fund, through Long Forest we've managed to establish 7 of these tree nurseries across Wales, and our tree nurseries are so important for letting us gather local provenance seed, then sharing the skills on how to grow them, and then producing a sustainable source of trees locally for communities.
I'm Simon Richards, I'm the head gardener here at Scholten Manor, and I'm delighted to be able to show you this polytunnel that we've got here that's been part of the Long Forest project, and it's enabled us to grow some fantastic plants. We grew some gorse from seed because it was identified as a plant that was a super thing to have in really hostile environments in the Pembrokeshire coast, for example, where gorse can survive where most plants can't. But also their root system has been identified as a really good place for reptiles to be able to make their homes. And so we've got about 500 of these plants that we've been able to produce this year. We've got a fantastic one here that wasn't something that I'd heard of before, but it's called bullace. And it's a type of sloe that's always been found in Pembrokeshire and has been foraged over the centuries, and it grows like a sloe but it's got a slightly larger fruit and it's shaped like a cherry rather than like a plum, and it's a great plant to have in hedgerows because it's good for animals, birds, but also humans as well, who can go along and harvest it. This is it here in the pot. This is now in its 2nd season, and we had to learn how to propagate it from seed. We've now got a crop of 300 bullace trees, which will be ready to be planted out with our green team of volunteers.
I've been involved in the green team of Scholten, and we've helped out with the propagating and planting of some of the Long Forest plants, trees, bullace. It's all been a big learning experience as well. It's been great.
We've also planted an edible hedgerow, haven't we, down the bottom of the site?
Quite a sight, yes, yeah.
As part of the Long Forest, it was important to also help educate people about the value of hedgerows, what's in a hedgerow and how they were important in days gone by when food was more scarce and lots of foraging was done in hedgerows just to supplement the normal diet. So we decided to plant a whole hedgerow with purely ornamental plants that are all edible, and there's about a dozen different sorts of plants that we've managed to secure and plant in here. So we've got things like damsons, of course, that we know well but don't see so often in hedgerows anymore, which is a real shame, and cherry plum, which is a lovely little fruit. We've got wild strawberries and some wild garlic, which will come through in the spring. Amelanchier, which is a service berry, that's another fruit that you can harvest. We've got blackberries and some currants. So it's a real mixture of edible plants that we've got growing here, and then we're going to use this site for school parties and others, so we can talk through the uses of these plants and how they can once again perhaps be part of our diet.
So Long Forest is a project that's spanned all areas of Wales. We've had 4 main sites in Wales where we've focused our efforts on: Pembrokeshire, Anglesey, North East Wales and Monmouthshire. They've all been picked for specific reasons, but we really have tried to encourage effective management of hedgerows across the whole of Wales.
We're here today at Choed Cadw on Anglesey, where we've been planting 3 new hedges over the last 3 planting seasons. This is the first one that we planted. It's mainly hazel and it's doing really well. And the aim of this hedge is to improve the connectivity for the red squirrels on Anglesey. This area is quite a good area for squirrels, but we're trying to improve the connectivity, not just for the squirrels, but for wildlife in general. So the idea is to link this hedgerow to the woodland across the road there. I'm sure you can hear some traffic. A squirrel bridge has been created, so we're trying to link this woodland to that woodland over there, and hopefully the red squirrels are going to use this squirrel bridge. When the hedge is a bit bigger, they'll be able to move safely across, move from one woodland to the other. This project here is linking 4 different woodlands. So Choed Cadw is one area that we've been concentrating on with the Long Forest project on Anglesey over the last 3 years. We've had 3 hedges planted here. We've had a hedgerow planted across the road in Plasnewydd. We've been working with the RSPB at Scorsthygas. We've been gapping some hedgerows there, but we've also created a 300-metre long hedgerow there. We had NRW volunteers come and plant a lot of these trees, so we've been working in partnership. Of course, different groups coming in to volunteer. Yeah. But not only is it just Long Forest volunteers. So we'll see in the spring, take it off, and then we'll see. There's hazelnuts and acorns in here, and these will become the saplings ready to plant. This is single hazel, so we've planted lots of them over there. This is interesting. This is a nice little hazel flower. Not many people notice those, they're quite small. Really? Yeah, absolutely. So that's why we've been concentrating, so that really improves the connectivity. It does, in this particular area. And then these little woodlands connect via the hedgerows.
Without these hedgerows, there'd be little islands, really.
They would be.
Yeah.
Long Forest volunteers put this in last winter. It's just under 200 metres long and close to about 1,100 trees altogether. There's a lot of hazel again. We've got some alder, but they're mainly down the bottom there. There's a bit of a wet area and alder, like wet ground. We've got some cherry as well. But we've also got standards. We've got some oak trees. So every 15-20 metres we have an oak tree. So it's going to be, there'll be a big tree in the middle of the hedge. We're putting in a new fence here, and what we're going to do is we're going to be planting in the middle here. The reason we're putting the fence in is to protect the trees of the hedge from stock. There's either going to be sheep or cattle on either side. And as you can see, we're connecting that woodland again to this woodland. So fantastic, and you can see we've got lots of volunteers.
Another 10 centimetres.
But as you see, they're very wide hedgerows. There's a grassy strip on either side as well. So in effect, I mean, we're doing this for red squirrels, but it benefits mammals, small mammals, bird life, invertebrate insects as well. So it's a very worthwhile project to be doing in this part of the world. It's quite labour intensive, but we've got a good crowd of volunteers, AOMB, Anglesey volunteers here, and they're doing a cracking job, to be honest. It's about a couple 100 metres of hedgerow to be planted later this month.
Wel, yn sicr mae rhoi cyfraniad I ni gyfrannu nôl, a hefyd mae rhywun yn dysgu sgiliau newydd, ac wrth gwrs cyfarfod llwyth o ffrindiau.
Well, I've been involved in nature conservation in the past, but not really doing an awful lot of practical stuff, so this is a great opportunity to get out in the countryside at the right time of the year and do all of the things that were all in theory in the past for me with countryside management career, but not really getting out and doing it, so this is fantastic. Lots of tree planting, coppice work, and in this case putting a fence in before parts of the Long Forest go in later on this season.
The Long Forest project is a lot more than projects aimed at biodiversity, so habitat creation. We restore hedgerows as well right across Wales that have been there for sometimes hundreds of years. We've restored over 10 kilometres of hedgerow halts just beside Wrexham, where we basically use a medieval hedgerow system where we've replanted hawthorn to re-establish hundreds of years old hedgerows and re-establish them in the community, and working with the community to do that.
We were delighted when we were approached by the Long Forest project to be the North East Wales regional hub, because everything that the Long Forest project does fits in with the work that we do. And it gave us the opportunity to work with our social prescribing groups in collecting seed locally, in treating the seed and growing it on, and making planting material available for hedgerow restoration projects. We have a big social prescribing programme here. We run between 10 and 15 groups a week who come here, and we want to get them outside as much as possible to work together cooperatively, to enjoy the outdoors, to enjoy the natural environment. And projects like Long Forest, that gives us an opportunity with our social prescribing groups to say we are doing something that is benefiting the natural environment, it's benefiting society. We can work together as a group, we can get out there, we can enjoy it, and it changes their perspective of the natural environment as well. You know, a hedge is no longer a hedge when you've collected seed and grown plants and thought about the importance of it for wildlife and for the environment.